Welcome to the Parenting Tips Podcast. I'm Jeff Reiland, the host of this podcast series. If you are the parent of a young child, have you ever wondered or worried about how they're going to make friends? Maybe they seem disinterested. Maybe you see or hear other parents talking about their child's friends. Maybe your child is kind of curious, but maybe not too sure of themselves. Maybe your child just plunges into the group and seems to get along and play well with everyone. Maybe your child can be a bit too forceful and likes other kids to play what your child wants to play. They want to be in charge. What's happening here? And is any of this normal? In this episode, we'll walk through stages of friendship development from toddlers to young adults. In future episodes about friendship, we'll talk more in depth about how teen and adult friendships develop and how they're maintained and how they sometimes end. In addition, we'll touch briefly on some of the skills that are needed for children's friendships to develop. In the next episode, we'll go into more detail about those skills. The key word here is skills. Friendship skills are specific abilities that are needed to form and maintain friendships. These take time and practice. No one, not even adults, always get this right. As parents of young children, we imagine a future for our children that is filled with warm and enjoyable friendship relationships. We don't always anticipate the heartache and frustration that comes from those moments when our child feels left out or is a victim of another child's impulsive anger, teasing, or bullying. We are equally distressed to learn that our child may be the one doing the hurtful acts. Why can't friendships be easy? All children go through stages of development that also include their skills and ability to make friends. But no two children are alike, and the age and stage of development a child is at gives us as parents some clues about how to help them along in developing friendship skills. Imagine a 3-year-old struggling to share their tractor in the sandbox at daycare, or a 6-year-old trying to navigate a game on the playground, not fully understanding all the rules. Or a 10-year-old. Have you ever tried to console a child who felt left out or rejected by a friend because that friend didn't want to play with them that day? Each of these 3 examples briefly describes 3 different children at 3 different ages and developmental abilities to understand and navigate friendships. Whether we had robust friendships throughout our own childhood or we have carried the scars from feeling left out or rejected, we all want for our children to be liked by their peers and to value friendships. We know that as children grow into teenagers, a good friend group is a great protective factor in helping those teenagers belong, feel connected, to be part of a group. Good friendships can buffer them from some of the harmful things that teens can be exposed to as they become more independent. Having a good friend group can help reduce some of the risks of depression and anxiety, for example. Have you ever been confused or frustrated when your child was left out or your child behaved in a way that you could imagine would make it difficult for them to make friends? Let's take a closer look at what's going on for children in terms of friendship development as they grow up. As we go through these stages of friendship development, give some thought to where your child may be and what kinds of steps you might take to help them during this stage. As we begin talking about friendships, it's important to include a concept that is crucial for children to learn to develop friendships called perspective taking, or seeing another person's point of view. We'll talk more about this in a separate episode, but it is closely tied to children's formation of friendships across their childhood. To begin, it's important to note that children are pretty self-centered. Yes, there are moments when they can sense sadness or pain in you or in a sibling and even reach out to comfort. These moments are precious and admirable, and there's a good chance that they are modeling what they have seen you do. But this is not necessarily something that they've mastered. By nature, young children are not able to easily see a situation from any position other than their own. It's hard to see other points of view, even for adults sometimes, but we know they exist. You have probably heard and experienced that for very young children, they are the center of the universe. As a parent, you may be able to appreciate that when you're in a hurry in the morning because you're late for work, and they seem largely unhurried, and their lackadaisical approach to getting ready might make you late. When something does not go their way, it's difficult for them to step back and appreciate that maybe you ran out of time to go to the park, or the weather just didn't cooperate, or maybe the car wasn't working and you had to change your plans. If you've ever been accused of breaking your promise due to circumstances beyond your control, you can understand that children have difficulty stepping outside their own viewpoint to see another person's point of view. This can be a difficult skill for children to master because it is tied to their cognitive, emotional, and social development. Some things just can't be hurried along. If you have experienced one child's meltdown because they didn't get presents on their sibling's birthday, even though they may have recently had a birthday where their sibling didn't get presents, you know what it's like to witness this. The following stages of friendship development were identified by Harvard psychologist Dr. Robert Selman. Over 40 years ago, Dr. Selman studied how children evolve in their understanding of friendships. He described a sequence of 5 states that are based both on a child's level of maturity, their developmental age, and their experiences. As we go through these stages, please notice the very wide range in ages that are described. These stages overlap by years. This is because there is a wide range between what individual children are able to learn and master. Some children learn to walk quickly and others take many months. Some children seem to potty train overnight while others take a year or two. Some children begin reading much earlier than others. Every child is different. There are a host of factors that can influence this. Genetics and children's temperaments are just 2 things we have little say in. The environment our children are raised in and our relationship with our child are 2 things we can influence. And how we understand where our child is at and how we guide them along is one thing we can control. The first stage that Dr. Selman identified is described as momentary physical interaction or momentary playmates. This stage is experienced by children beginning at age 3 and lasting to about age 7. At this stage, children define who their friends are by who plays with them or who they play with at any moment in time. Friendships at this age are largely based on the physical presence or availability of the other child. Interestingly, throughout our lives, the proximity of people in our lives is one of the best predictors of friendships, and we're typically more likely to remain friends with someone we see more often. The same is true for young children. In this first stage, there's a fairly wide range of understanding or ability to express feelings and thoughts about the friendship. Children know their friend's name. Sometimes they don't, but mostly they do. And they may think of them when they're not together. They may also look forward to the next time they can play with that specific friend. It is not uncommon for parents to try to arrange play dates with children their own child seems to enjoy being with. During this stage, children can tell the difference between children they might label as friends because they enjoy playing with them and other children they may know but they don't play with. We'll call them acquaintances. There is a selection process going on here. Some children at this age are very outgoing and have little difficulty in forming these social connections. However, there are also children who are less sure of themselves and are less active in seeking friends, preferring to watch or play by themselves. And because children are still learning, they can sometimes feel overwhelmed and become dysregulated when they're tired or simply need a break. Making and keeping friends takes some effort and compromise in communication, even at this age. This can be a challenging stage because at this age, children are still learning important skills like sharing, taking turns, and using words to communicate. Something that children have yet to master is the ability to see another point of view, and this can be stressful for children and parents alike. If your child is an only child, you may only see this when they're interacting with other children through daycare, school, or other social environments. However, the skills for friendship, or the lack of those skills, are often on full display with siblings. One child may want to play with Legos while the other child wants to go outside. Both may want the same doll or toy car. One child may be incensed that a friend they invited over wants to play with their toys, and they may throw a tantrum as a result. At this stage, children may misinterpret another child's interest in doing something else as not liking them. They may say something like, "Sarah doesn't like me because she didn't want to play on the slide with me," or "Joey isn't my friend because he doesn't want to play my game with me." So what can parents do? Well, We are talking about basic building blocks of development here. In episode 51, we will go into more detail about the skills needed for friendship and how to strengthen them in your child. For preschool-age children, this includes learning to share toys, taking turns, playing cooperatively, listening, showing interest in the other child, and managing conflicts when there are disagreements. Remember, it's hard for children at this age to imagine there are other points of view other than their own. At the next stage, a friend is someone who does nice things for me. Dr. Selman called this the one-way assistance stage. Children can move into this stage as early as age 4 and can remain in this stage until about age 9. Again, notice the wide range and overlap here. Children move beyond that momentary playmates proximity of the previous stage, where my friend is a person who plays with me, even if I don't know their name, to liking someone and seeing them as a friend because of the qualities and good things they bring to the friendship. A child at this stage may say, I like Mark because we both play baseball, or Serena is my friend because she shares her snacks with me. The focus at this stage is that the child sees likable traits or qualities in the other, or finds some similarity that is shared. What is missing at this stage is any self-awareness about what your child brings or does not bring to the relationship. Remember, they're at the center of their own universe. At this stage, children are still developing those skills of self-reflection. Their insight is limited in that they often don't see their own behaviors as possibly contributing to the success or the stress of the friendship with other children. I think it's important to celebrate the kind things that you and your child observe from other children. Help your child experience how that kindness makes them feel. When your child does or says something thoughtful or kind for you, let them know how that made you feel. Share your own stories or acts of kindness from others, or acts of kindness that you showed others. Modeling here is key. One great place to reinforce your child's awareness of kindness or pro-social behaviors is when you see it, or at the end of the day, when you're sharing the best parts of your day with your child as you put them to bed. As children continue to develop and age, they go through yet another evolution in their understanding and experience of friendship. This stage is called the fair weather friends stage. The age children may begin to go through this stage is age 6, and they emerge from this stage around age 12. Again, notice the wide range in ages that children can be at this stage. And imagine that a child of the same chronological age might be at a different stage than another child at the same chronological age. This may help explain why friendships can be so difficult for young children, given that some children of the same age are in different places developmentally. Children are finally starting to see different points of view. This is an emerging skill. That means that they've not mastered it. They may see the difference after the fact, or they may not be able to step back and see the bigger picture. What is typical is that kids at this stage can be fairly inflexible with how they view the expectations and rules of friendship. They may have rigid ideas about whose turn it is. There's a tendency to expect fairly immediate reciprocity. I was nice to you, now you have to be nice to me. And so it can be challenging for kids when it's not universally agreed on, especially with that other friend. The one-way assistance friendship gives way to this more mutually cooperative stage, but it is characterized by an understanding that a friend is someone who does nice things for you because you also do nice things for them. Children start to see that other children can have different points of view, but it's difficult for them still to consider their own point of view and that of another child at the same time. It's at this stage during grade school years that small friendship groups start to form. This stage ushers in a rigid way of turn-taking and sharing where reciprocity or sharing is immediate. I did this last time, it's your turn. Kids at this stage tend to engage in inflexible rule-following behavior in order for things to be fair. And because that window of self-awareness is just opening up, children can become overly critical of themselves when they make mistakes or they think that they made a mistake. They begin to develop more awareness of desire to belong, the need to be liked or valued by other children. It's at this stage that jealousy, the green-eyed monster, can start to make its appearance as children attempt to keep their friends and they fear losing them to another child. There are some hazards that can develop at this stage as children can become fairly self-critical if they make mistakes. They may feel those mistakes very deeply and may either be angry with themselves or with others, sometimes blaming those others. On the other side of this, they may become possessive and struggle with sharing friends. Jealousy that their friend may have other friends or other interests isn't uncommon. Remember, children are still developing skills for understanding others and relating to others. If your child is at this stage, you can help your child see their own strengths, help them find simple solutions to the problems of friendships that include sharing and turn-taking, help them recognize their own feelings, and gently challenge them when their perceptions may be a bit off and they're down on themselves. Moving along, Dr. Selman describes the next stage of friendship development as intimate and mutual sharing. This tends to occur between ages 11 and 15. Children begin to form close bonds with a friend or two and may feel as if they can tell them things they may not be able to tell anyone else. During this stage, tweens and preteens begin to hone their skills for helping each other solve problems, compromise, and share. It's not that this stage is without challenges. Teens are continuing to gain the ability to see another point of view as different than their own. Finally, teens arrive at a stage that Dr. Selman describes as autonomous interdependence. A friend is essentially someone who accepts you for who you are, and you accept them for who they are. This is often described as mature friendship. At this stage, friends value emotional closeness. They accept differences, they respect the needs of each person to have other friends, and they also appreciate that friendships take time and effort to nurture and develop, and they're willing to invest that time. We've just covered the developmental journey that kids go on in forming friendship relationships. Friendship relationship development is an evolving and ongoing process for children across their lifetime. The early years can be confusing for parents. It's important to understand the limitations children have in terms of their own development. Remember, they have to learn to walk before they can run. Friendships are important to all human beings. We are a social animal. We don't need hundreds or even dozens of friends. We can have many acquaintances. Several or a few good and close friends are a treasure to cherish. Strong and healthy friendship relationships are closely linked to positive mental health. Young children are still learning how all of this works. Fortunately, most children are pretty forgiving and willing to keep trying. Friendship relationships can help children as a protective factor and buffer them against loneliness. Friendships can bring laughter and joy. Friendships can lead to learning new activities and creating memories of new adventures. Friendships can give children practice at the fine art of managing differences and tolerating frustration, resolving conflicts, forgiving, and moving on. Friendships help prepare us for life. Give some thought to the stages we have discussed. We talked about momentary playmates between ages 3 and 7, one-way assistance between ages 4 and 9, fair weather friends between ages 6 and 12, intimate and mutual sharing between ages 11 and 15, and autonomous interdependence, late adolescence to adulthood. Where is your child or your children in this journey? Does knowing the developmental stages children go through help you understand why your child may do what they do, feel what they feel, or think what they think about friendships? In the next episode, we'll look a bit more at those skills for friendship. Thank you for tuning in and considering this parenting topic. I hope that this information added to your growing toolbox for parenting your child or children. Please consider exploring other topics in this series. Remember, no one parenting tool can do everything. We need many tools to become the best parents for our children. Your children's future depends on you and the time and effort you invest in them today.